What has been the dynamic for you with tradespeople? Because sometimes there's a certain like they think of us as soft hands. There's the thing in the trades that's like dirty hands, clean money. So what does that
Yeah,
make us?
yeah, yeah. The bastard stepkids. Um, it's funny because I totally get that critique, and the way that I kind of think about it is there are like I suck with working with my hands, like I do. Like I tried to build like a really cool table out of reclaimed barn door that I found, and like it looks awful. But my brain can go. There are people who are really damn good at turning a wrench or working with their hands, or they can see a project start to finish. And there are other people who have supporting or complementary roles. It doesn't make one better than the other. Both are helpful.
Hey, how's it going? It's Tim Brown, and this is the Plumbing and HVAC Hustle podcast. And today I have Ryan Redding from Levergy. How you doing, sir?
Good, man. It's fun to be here. Thanks for the invite.
And what are we talking about today? Well, we're talking about probably around the relationship between home service businesses and agencies.
We'll find out.
Yeah, I guess we're going to find out what we're talking about, but we're discussing marketing and in the trades, and we're learning about stuff. Ryan, maybe give us like a 1 or 2 minute kind of background on what got you into this whole crazy business.
Oh gosh, dude, this is the weirdest story for me because it's entirely by accident. Like there's no master plan or business plan or nothing, right? It's just I studied marketing in undergrad, graduated school, and then landed at a big ad agency where my first client that I was assigned at this big boutique agency. I don't think I can actually say their name, but they're like a Fortune 100 company. They're massive. Everyone would know them. And really quickly had to like unlearn everything I learned in undergrad because when you're at that scale of marketing, like you kind of make your own rules at that point, right? Like a lot of the theory kind of exists, but not really. It's the way that things get implemented just it doesn't work for most businesses. Did that for a while. 2008 happened. Got out of marketing, and honestly thought like I would never go back, and I was totally fine, never going back to the world of marketing. Fast forward a few years, I was actually had my MBA by this point. I was working at Oklahoma State University as a consultant. And OSU, for those who don't know, is like it's a land grant school, which means the federal government gives the school land to like do the school things. And as a condition of schools receiving these sort of grants, they're obligated and required to do something to support the economies that they're planted in. So I became OSU's pet project of consulting and guiding and advising Main Street businesses in Main Street, USA. So think of any sort of town, like wherever you're listening right now, like or watching. Just think of like you got bakers, you got chiropractors, you got self-storage places, you got plumbers, like all these guys on Main Street, right? There's nothing special about these. It's just like these are the type of businesses that I would work with. And in the process of working with these people with hiring strategies, with like legal stuff, with branding and marketing, with just cash flow management, just any sort of business things, I realized that all these guys had they're really good people, but they had really crappy websites. Not because they didn't want to or they didn't care. They just didn't know that it was important, and they honestly didn't have a lot of budget. So I was like, you know what? I'll do a little side hustle. I'll do like really cheap, $100 a month website. I'll take care of it. It'll look nice. Like make sure it's all managed for you, and you don't have to worry about it. And just it was a way to help them at a low cost and kind of get some folding cash on the side. And one of the guys who picked up in this time was a plumber. Like there's nothing special about this guy. He was just one of a dozen industries that we were building websites for. And within like 5 months, I think, of like redoing his website and doing a little bit of basic SEO, he was like page one, number 5 on the market that he was in. And he went from making $150K a year top line. I think last year he closed out just over 7 mil. And he literally just like went night and day. Just like his entire business changed just from like the digital presence that he had now. And I remember him like one calling me I was at lunch with my family, and anytime a client calls you when you're at lunch, you're like, oh crap, what's going to happen? To pick up the phone, and he's just like screaming, like screaming, and I'm like, ah crap. You get that sinking feeling in your stomach.
Yeah.
And then it finds out like, no, he's screaming because he literally can't answer the phone fast enough. It's just him in a truck. He didn't know, like, he didn't have any of the ops built out. He didn't know the business side of things, and he was just over the top happy that this was now his problem of like all these phone calls that he possibly can't field. And then once he got that under control, he circled back. We were having wine one night, and he said, bro, you got to just work with guys like me. Like, obviously, you know what you're doing. And guys like us were comfortable to pay for guys like you to take care of it. And honestly, like, I wrestled with it for a while because to me it was like it wasn't sexy. It wasn't like had this like pasha. And yeah, I did a lot of soul searching and came to find out I think the dude was right. So started focusing on just the trades: plumbing, HVAC, electrical. Like this is 2016, 2017 at that time, and haven't really looked back. So yeah. It's entirely just a series of weird accidents that got us here.
You gotta love that. I think it's always an interesting thing as an agency owner that gets into this stuff where you're like, for instance, I didn't really think about these things I didn't think about roofs, and I didn't think about plumbing, and I didn't think about HVAC that often. And now that's all you see, and then you're driving around and you just see and you're like, that's money, and it's like kind of crazy. You just don't focus on it, but then once you're in it, you're like, literally everyone needs this. It's always important, and I'm grateful I'm in something like that that's anchored, even though we're just serving that industry. What has been the dynamic for you with tradespeople? Because sometimes there's a certain, like, they think of us as soft hands. There's this the thing in the trades that's like dirty hands, clean money. So what does that make us?
The bastard stepkids. It's funny because I totally get that critique, and the way that I kind of think about it is there are I suck with working with my hands. Like, I do. Like, I tried to build like a really cool table out of reclaimed barn door that I found, and like it looks awful. It looks awful. Like, you don't want me working with my hands. It doesn't end well. But my brain can go. And so what I've kind of found is that there are people who are really damn good at turning a wrench or working with their hands, or they can see a project start to finish. And there are other people who have supporting or complementary roles. It doesn't make one better than the other. Both are helpful. So it's like, cool. I want to understand and appreciate and respect what they do because I can't do it. Nobody wants to pay $1 for me to turn a wrench. But I bring a lot of things to the table that are uncommon in the trades. For instance, there's not that education's everything, especially in like an academia with student loan debt. Like, that's a whole thing. But there's not a whole lot of people with postgraduate degrees supporting the trades, or people who have worked with Fortune 100 companies supporting the trades. There's a whole lot of people who like used to be in HVAC. They worked back office and they kind of taught themselves skills, and that's awesome. Like, good for them. But to know that, hey, there's people who actually know like the theory, they know the practice. It's not just book smarts, but it's also like applied things that have worked for businesses across the U.S. and Canada, like over and over and over and over again. Like, those are really valuable resources that really do make successful companies. So I would say the companies who struggle like getting their head around that are probably going to have limited growth potential in general. And the companies who go, hey, the bigger the vision that they can cast to attract better quality people around them, those companies, there's no size limit that they can to take it and hit. So yeah, I totally know that dynamic, and I kind of embrace it. I think it's a good thing to focus on one's strengths and to augment out the things you suck at.
I think I just always, I almost got in a fist fight at a Joe Crisera event.
Was it with Joe?
No, not you wish.
That dude can brawl.
No, it would be pretty sweet. No, but it was a plumber who was blackout or whatever. But he was like, my hands are golden, and and he was mad at me because I looked like a liberal, you know. And I get that. I get that. I'd want to punch me too, but
So I wasn't born
what?
this douchey. That's not my fault.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Sorry, can I
know,
say
but
that?
I was dressed as Elvis too, so it was like a whole thing, and he was probably like this soft hands motherfucker, you know. And respectfully, I get it. I get it. Um, I just that dynamic sometimes. I think what I'm really getting at is I like believe in professionalism, and I know that there's some
Yeah,
people that disrespect the trades. Like there's homeowners that aren't that like think they're above them, and it's like frankly that plumber's making more money than you are sitting at your work from home desk. Like shut the fuck up. That's how I feel. I really do feel that way, but I can feel the tension the other way from the trades. And like luckily in roofing I've kind of got over that, where I just like I I know what they care about, and so I talk to them about what they care about. And as I enter plumbing and HVAC, I can feel that fresh tension. They don't know me from Adam. They
yeah,
think I'm just another soft hands office
yeah, yeah.
guy. And
Sorry, nice
but I
hands.
believe in professionalism. Professionalism means when you see somebody that does better work than you in a particular thing, and they're doing it all the time, 40 hours a week, you sometimes let them help you, even if you guys have a little bit different of a, you know,
Yeah,
you're better at different things than I am. You know,
you know what?
that's
It's
what I
crazy.
realize.
Yeah, and I 100% agree with you. And that's like kind of the foundation of the book E Myth, which I would assume everyone
Oh yeah,
watching or listening right now has read. And if they
yes,
haven't, they should stop, go read the book, and then resume this conversation
yes,
because
agreed.
the whole concept is really really basic, right? There's a fundamental difference between knowing how to bake a cake and knowing how to run a bakery. Very different. And so just because someone knows how to make a really damn good cake does not mean that they understand remotely what it's required to make a bakery. And by the way, this isn't just true with the trades, right? I think that dichotomy gets drawn up a lot, mainly because we're in the trades. So I spend my days hanging out with plumbers and electricians, and like I get it. But it's also true with lawyers. It's also true with doctors. People who are really, really good at their particular craft, whatever that craft is, tend to diminish the value of all the things they need to do to turn that craft into a business.
Yeah,
I was talking to a guy the other day. He was boasting his smaller shop. He was, I don't know, 1.5 mil as a one-man plumber, right? Which from a performance metric is insane. Like that's
yeah,
really good goals if you're a single like one-man truck shop. And but I kept challenging on his SOPs and ops because he can do that as an owner. He can grind harder. He can answer the phone. He could sell better. He can run the call faster. Like he can do all that. But he will be his bottleneck to get himself out of a truck. He's going to have to learn how to train and deploy people at scale to get him where he's not having to run 90 hours a week of calls and still produce money that he's used to producing. So it's funny, like there's a very, very big difference in knowing how to bake a cake. I don't care if your hands are calloused or if your hands are clean. You need really quality humans to help you get your goal unless you just
mhm,
want a job. If you just want a job, keep doing whatever you're doing, man. Knock yourself out. But if you want to scale where other people are carrying the weight of the business for you, you have to be able to attract people with skills different than yours. That's my opinion.
well, let's talk to these HVAC and plumbing business owners from that $3 to $10 million range that they're starting to get people in place, but they're having a little bit of a hard time passing off more strategic things too. What have you seen as far as like leadership structures, or like anything that you've found that helps people pass off more strategic stuff? Definitely marketing feels like one of those strategic things, but there's other things, having a sales manager, having those types of things. What have you seen work this last few years as far as like actually letting go and getting people in
Yeah.
charge of important metrics?
So I'm a believer in EOS, which is like Gino Wickman's framework, and the book Traction and Rocket Fuel, kind of in this
Yeah.
vein. Um, and a lot of his thing is essentially start with identifying like what are the roles and responsibilities that have to get done. And if you're a one man guy, like this is still true. Like think about all the hats you have to wear. Like, you got to answer the phone, you got to book the call, you got to run to the parts house, you got to do all this crap, right? All these hats you have to wear. And then you have to figure out, cool, you have to find a who to carry those things and sit in that particular seat. So early on for any entrepreneur, it's going to be really, really difficult for them to start delegating anything, even running to the parts house, because they feel like they've got something magic that no one else has. Well, I know the guy at the counter. He always gives me my order. They always do this. Or guys, you don't have a Midas touch. It just doesn't happen. In fact, if you literally do have a Midas touch, it's actually probably a problem in the business that you need to solve as soon as you possibly can, because it's going to hurt you bad in the future. But essentially, like, break down, like, what are the roles, and then start finding who's to sit in these roles. And so there's a couple different ways to do it. You could do like, hey, what's taking up the most of your time? Like, hey, I'm sitting 60 hours a week just doing admin. Okay, well, cool. Hire someone with admin skills that are stronger than yours. Give it to them. You could also think about it like delegating things that you just don't like to do. I really hate doing SOPs. Cool. Delegate it to someone else who, like, that's their strength. If you hate doing SOPs, there's someone else who really geeks out on it. I am a believer that as an owner, as a founder, regardless of the size of a company, I don't care if it's like 6-figure, 7-figure, 10-figure, if you are the owner, if you're sitting in that particular seat, or you're like a senior leader of some level, you're responsible for the vision, you're responsible for the culture, and you're responsible for, I'm going to say, the people. Just making sure you attract the right people, you hold the right people accountable, because those are the things that's going to help you move forward. Some guys are really, really good at marketing. Like we have a client who's there on the pace to become a 9-figure shop in the next probably 18 months. Their owner's really, really good at marketing. That's his strength. Not channel specific. Like, you wouldn't want to give him keys to an AdWords account. He would die. But think about marketing strategy and how you deploy these channels online and kind of bring them on at different points. He's really, really, really good. So cool. Let him use his strength, because it's going to be hard to replace that, regardless of who you hire. Most people are not wizards with marketing. Most people are not wizards with CSR. Most people are not wizards with ops. Most people are not, like, they're just not. So find whatever sort of framework that works. I like EOS, but there's a lot of best practice groups. There's Blue Collar Success, there's BDR, there's Nexstar. There's a lot of really good groups who do high quality training, and give yourself permission to up your skills, which is usually where people stop. Invest in yourself, improve your own leadership capabilities, and then delegate and hire and promote people to take those things off of you. You'll always have, like, as an entrepreneur, like, you're always going to have this temptation, like, to pick up the shiny thing, get back in. Well, I'm going to run calls and fix the problem. But, like, in that particular scenario, there is no restaurant in the world where if a chef quit, the owner would just hop in and start flipping pies in the background, like, just to keep the kitchen going. Like, no, he's going to call someone else who's a great chef to jump in and fill. He's not doing it. Like, but yet that's most people's instinct, is to hop in and do it themselves. And so a lot of it's just the discipline to do that, the clarity to do that. Make sure you have the structure, that you actually understand how you're going to roll these things out. Yeah, it's a really legit problem. Everyone has it, and it never goes away. Like, it's not like, hey, it's magically solved. Like, at different stages of the business, it's going to look like different things.
Yeah. I'm always like I'm always trying to. By the way, how big is your company? How many people do you have?
We have around 50 right now on payroll.
So, like, I'm always trying to, like, let go of things, right? Like, I'm pushing to, like, make myself unnecessary all the time.
Yeah.
There's always stuff, right? And I feel like that's, like, a good mindset to be in. Like, how could I make myself unnecessary? And then recognize that's not, like, we're not all reaching that all the time. It's kind of a forever problem, or,
it always is forever. But that's business, right? You solve this problem, then you go back to the next problem you just created. Yeah. So, like, in home services, like, most people are like, well, I've got a marketing problem. Cool. Solve the marketing problem. Now you just move down. Oh, great. Now I've got a CSR problem. Okay. Solve the CSR problem. Now I got a sales problem. Cool. Call the sales. Solve the sales. Like, you're just going around the circle forever. It never goes away. Yeah. But you're totally right. There's some stuff that, as an owner, you'll probably always have to do for the foreseeable future, man. Like, your face is going to be on all the viral YouTube stuff, because you do a killer job at it. And it's going to be really hard just to have anyone come in and have your beautiful face and soft hands. It's going to be really hard.
They're so soft, by the way.
They're so soft.
So they're very, like, You'd want a massage, but you wouldn't want me like holding like a wrench or something like usually like
Not on
so
that skin. Yeah, not on
we're
that porcelain
talking
skin, sir.
about the yeah.
Sorry,
So we're
this
talking
this
about
conversation has got
the
really strange, and I'm here for it.
yeah. um with passing stuff off, there's a natural inclination to believe that you're doing a better job than whoever it is. And I think something that's been useful to me has been like, yes, if you did this 40 hours, sure, you might be the best in the world at it. But what about if you're doing it 10, which naturally happens as a business owner, and you could hire somebody to do it 40? They're probably going to get better at it quicker than you. So that is the dilemma that we're always facing as a business owner, because that there's a natural, we have to split our effort 5
Yeah.
ways. You recognize how that 40 hours that person's doing every week could be better than your 10.
Well, I think there's two other aspects in that usually guys get into this problem before they start figuring out, and one is, as an owner, they tend to have a vantage point of the business that lets them shortcut processes and critical thinking, right? So if an owner's at a house talking with a customer and a customer's debating a price, you're just really trying to close a deal. As an owner, you know your numbers, you know your overhead, you know what you got to hit, like you know all these things, and you know exactly what you need to do to thread the needle, and you can make those things happen fast. Every other employee you hire to sit in that exact same seat as like a salesperson this way is not going to be able to do that calculus nearly as fast. It doesn't mean that they're worse, right? They're just not going to have the same insight, and it's going to take you time to teach them your knowledge so that they can over time learn your business well enough to do that. The other thing that I think a lot of leaders, I'm going to say leaders, not just owners, but they fail by making it difficult for their team to fail. And what I mean by that is most of us learn by screwing up, and we take one on the chin and we go, oh crap, that went wrong. And we psychoanalyze it and we lose sleep for days or weeks. And we go, got it. This is how I'm never going to do that again. And we never do that mistake again. We'll do another mistake, which is awesome. But every time we fail, we learn massive lessons that makes us better and stronger, hopefully. But yet when we have employees, we don't let them have that same opportunity to make mistakes, to learn from the mistakes. And if you want your team to have this level of ownership that you feel, you have to let them fail. You have to let them screw up. It doesn't mean like there's no accountability. It doesn't mean any of those things. But you cannot starve them of the same teacher that you had the luxury of learning from. So for business owners and leaders, I think that's a really big challenge is knowing by having other people, they will screw up, and to know that's a part of their learning process to make them and the company better. That's a tricky one.
Many homes suffer from inefficient HVAC systems due to leaky ducts, leading to uneven room temps, lost airflow, and higher energy costs. AeroSeal's innovative sealant technology targets and repairs leaks, improving airflow and efficiency. Increase your customer satisfaction, increase sales, and offer a unique market advantage. Become a leader in HVAC efficiency. AeroSeal.com.
I think that this is an interesting thing too, where it's like you have a lot of these lessons that you've learned in your business. I always feel the pressure to apply this, like apply what I'm learning. Here's how it might work in a home service business.
Yeah.
But it is crazy. Like a lot of this stuff just immediately relates when you're talking about people and problems and challenges and like learning, and it does immediately relate. And Ryan runs a 50-person company. That's pretty crazy. Like it's okay to learn from people in different industries. You know, like I know that we're serving your industry, but like a marketing agency has things that they've dealt with people ops, you know, that matters for you too. Man,
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know if I'm gonna win that fight, but like I think that there's a lot of things we've learned too as business owners. I want to ask you around the perimeter of marketing, because I know that you guys are very consultative, whereas we kind of just we do the thing. We do SEO, PPC websites. You guys consult and do a little bit more in-depth stuff as you've seen problems with the other things that affect marketing.
Yeah.
So I was wondering if you could kind of walk me through like a few things that you feel like affect marketing, and it's that you recognize if these things are right, then marketing will go so much better.
Oh gosh. Okay, so let's start first because this is a really really solid question, and I might need some bourbon to get into this
All
one.
right, go for it. Yeah.
Because this is literally like this is deeper than I think most people who just heard it would recognize. So first, let's talk about what marketing is, because I think a lot of people hear marketing and use it interchangeably with advertising, and I'm going to call BS on that. I think that's the worst way to think about that particular term. In fact, just the other day on TikTok, I did a whole video on this exact thing. I would define marketing as everything about connecting with a customer who needs your good and service with the business's ability to provide said good or service. Very, very broad, right? So this could be everything from the type of lettering you use, the type of logo and wrap that you have, the way your CSRs answer the phone, the sales script you use, the software that you have, the texts that go out to the customer when you're being dispatched, the type of products you carry. All these things are part of marketing. It's about meeting your customer where they are. So it's a very, very broad thing. So if we can get our head around there, that's a big step. When you think about it that way, there's a whole lot that goes into marketing and business that influences what the customer perceives in that way. So a big part of that is, for lack of a better term, have a marketable business. And by that, I mean, have a reputation that people know, love, trust, respect, have a culture that people want to be a part of, have this thing where people feel like you're worth advertising. If you're not a business worth advertising, everything else on the marketing side will suck. It just will. So if your brand looks bad, if you're in a white van like driving around and all your stuff sucks, if your techs show up and they're like tracking mud everywhere, like this is literally where the trades get their bad reputation, is from homeowners having bad experience after bad experience after bad experience. Don't do those things. Show up on time, do what you say you would do something that costs you almost nothing, maybe takes 5 more minutes that adds value to the customer. Have team building, have culture, celebrate wins, like make your company marketable. If you can do that, that makes everything else easy. Once you get into that, now you're going to get into like ops. Ops, I would argue, are probably the primary KPI drivers for like ROI. Because when other people think about like advertising, like, well, I want the most ROI. I'm of the opinion that channels and marketing, so channels would be like AdWords or SEO or TikTok or whatever, right? Whatever channel you're doing. Those in themselves are not inherent drivers of ROI in the trades. A little bit different if you're doing e-com, where every widget you sell is exactly the same. You fulfill it the same way. It's a machine. In home services, there's efficiency matrix in the middle. So it's like, what's your capacity load? How long does it take you to run a call? This whole thing that makes it a little bit fuzzier. So in those cases, cool, make sure you're actually stacking up your ops to help your ROI get maximized. Just make sure, answer the stupid phone call when it rings within 30 seconds. Don't make a customer sit on hold. Don't let them leave a voicemail and call them back. You want to book the call? Answer the stupid phone. Step 2 is learn how to talk to a customer. Like, I am always shocked when I listen to phone calls, like how many people, even CSRs, don't know how to talk to a customer like a human. Like a human. So empathize, show care and compassion, be genuine. Don't do the whole scripted, oh, we're so sorry to hear that. That must be really bad. Customers see that and they will discard it so fast. Like, be human. Show up the way the customer's feeling. Book the stupid call. That's, in my opinion, the CSR, that is their number one job. Book the call. That's it. If those things happen, awesome. If those things don't happen, everything else sucks. Once it's called, once it's booked, awesome. Make sure you actually get the appointment on the schedule. So if it's not one of these things like, hey, we're booked 3 weeks out, but they cancel after 3 days because they're tired of waiting, it doesn't matter what the CSR does. So when you have a capacity problem, make sure you have guys who can run the call. Ideally within 72 hours if you can. There's a few examples where that might not work, but if you can, get your guy in their house within 72 hours. Make sure your techs know how to show up. that first representation of your business started with the website or whatever ad that they saw that the customer engaged with. Then they had the CSR conversation. Now this is the first in-person experience your customer's going to have with your business. Is the tech on time? Do they smile? Or is their uniform clean? Like, do they smell good? Do they smell like BO? Do they smell like cigarettes? Like, what is the experience a customer has? If you can nail that in the first 5 seconds, everything else is easy. Make sure the technicians is confident. Make sure they know how they actually talk to the customer like a human. Explain the customer, this is what we found. This is the options. Make sure you know how to price yourself well. I'm of the opinion no job should ever, ever, ever be sold for less than 25% net. Flat rate pricing is fantastic to actually calculate to know exactly what that is. I don't care about time and materials. I don't care about anything. If anything, the faster a job would take, the more time you need to spend talking with the customer, building the value, making sure they know what's happening. And then the follow-up, make sure the tech knows, hey, your job is not done when your work site's complete. Your job is done when the customer's happy, when they leave a review, when they go online saying, guys, this is great, and they were talking about you on Nextdoor or Facebook or whatever. If those things happen, those companies experience insane success with marketing. Insane. We have clients who have consistently 200 to 1 or more ROI on their marketing channels. And if I were to say that at a conference, it sounds like I'm BSing and making it up. 100% true, legit math.
Well, on this podcast, we don't fact check claims.
Yeah.
So that's perfect.
Well, no, it's like legit. It's a crazy.
I believe
really probably, yeah. The companies who think their CSRs are fine but don't really do anything about it. The companies who think their pricing's fine but don't really update it every quarter. The companies who do all this and just like casually check into meetings. Consistently, those are the ones that overspend on marketing and don't have the efficiencies to pay for it. And those are the ones really struggling to get diminished returns. So if a business really wants to understand marketing from a peripheral, like what's the things to focus on, don't focus on the channel. Don't focus on AdWords. Don't really focus on SEO. Don't focus on being a business worth marketing. Like, be marketable. Focus on your team. Focus on your customers. Everything else becomes much, much easier. And then you can get into like taking care of your back of house SOPs. But that's kind of where I'd go, which is different than a lot of marketers would say, honestly.
Well, there's so much in there, and it's really good. And I want to just kind of like tie it back to this idea of like other things that hold back marketing or other things that enable marketing. We're talking about, like, I'm going to kind of summarize and you can tell me what I missed. Make sure you're marketable. 1, answer the phone, book the call, make the customer experience good, and make sure you're pricing so that there's profit. And if you do those things, did I miss any? It felt like
yeah, those are the big categories, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some. If you do these things before you market, like if those things are tight, and it's tough because you kind of got to market a little bit to like start a business sometimes.
Sure.
As far as like pouring gasoline on your marketing, if you pour gasoline on a little ember, what happens?
I've never done that. I don't know. Does it
probably won't go out. It'll probably smoke a little bit. You know what I mean? And I think that there's some people that try to pour marketing on a company that's not really marketable is what I'm kind of getting at here.
I literally had a guy, this guy's been emailing me for 6 months. He wants to work with us, their HVAC company in Nashville. And I will not work with them because their ops are broken. And it's like every 10 days, the dude sends an email like, what about this marketing idea? And I'm like, I'll just run the math, show him the math. Like, dude, for every $1 you spend on marketing, you are losing $1.75. Stop. Stop chasing the next shiny thing. Stop being like, well, what if we changed AdWords vendors? Or what if we did this Facebook ads campaign? Or what if we did this? Look, until you have the ability to make your marketing efforts profitable, don't spend any more than absolutely necessary to cash flow. That's it. Once those things are solid, once you can demonstrate, hey, consistently, like I'm a fan of ROMs. Once you can consistently demonstrate a 6 or 7 to 1 ROMs, then I will literally tell you, open up your bank account, find as many dollars as you can, and keep dumping it in this machine because you will be just fine.
What is ROMs?
ROMs, return on marketing spend. So this is going to be similar to return on ad spend or ROAS or
Mhm.
ROI, which is return on investment, except it takes out job cost.
Mm.
So if it costs you $100 to actually get the job, but you spent $30 on parts and materials and labor on the job, that $70 is going to be what you recovered as far as ROM. So in that case, it's $1 there and you $70 back. So it's just a more pure way to take out any sort of variability with how efficient they get the parts, how efficient they get the labor, things along those
Yeah.
lines. So ROMs I like, if they can get a 6 or 7 to 1 ROMs, so for every dollar they spend in marketing, they make $6 and they make 7 after job cost. Pour gas on that fire. Like you have everything you need to scale for a long time. If it's below 6 or 7 ROMs, focus on ops first. That's not a marketing channel problem. That's a operations problem.
This is good. This is good. I love this. You know, I'm new. I'm new here, Ryan. Give me some don't do that. Don't do that.
Oh, dude, I don't care if you're new or not. How about
Yeah.
this? Don't be an asshole. Don't sell snake oil. Don't be BS. Like, I think there's plenty of I'm using the word gurus lightly in this space, like there are in all spaces that don't necessarily have someone's best interest in mind, and not trying to knock any one person or entity in particular. It's just do good by people. I'm of the opinion if you always do good by people, it's really hard to screw up. So always do good by people. So don't BS. Don't sell snake oil. Don't overpromise, underdeliver. Just be a good human. I would say most of the issues in the trades, most of the issues that we have as a country, a lot of them would be addressed if we're just like, hey, just be a good human. Stop being an asshole. It seems like that covers a multitude of sins.
Absolutely. I think that also applies to the home service businesses. You know, I think the reason why I like to feature other agencies, and I put you guys on our top, marketing agencies for HVAC,
which is awesome of you.
The reason I do that is because I like to I like to think that we're in that category technically. I like to think we're in that category, and I like to figure out what my criteria is if I was buying, right? I try to put myself in the buyer's mindset. If I'm buying the service, what would I want? And I think that that's a good thing. That's a good exercise for home service businesses too. And you could make that list. If you're an HVAC company, you could make the best 5 HVAC companies in Charlotte. And guess what? Some of them might be mad at you. I've had people that are weird about it, but most of the time, almost every time, people are like, "Oh, that's kind of weird," but it's cool that person did that. And also, that list ranks for plural keywords on Google. So
it's crazy.
noting and people do who you're competing with a lot of times is expertise.com or Angie.com on those, because most HVAC companies or agencies won't make that list because it's kind of a bold move. But ultimately, the reason I'm having you on and the reason I appreciate you is because you have a great reputation in the industry. People see what you do, and you're more involved. You guys have a very in-depth strategy for companies, including things that go deeper than just the surface level marketing. So, anything else you want to share about that, and then tell them where to get at you?
Well, yeah. So it's weird. I actually feel like I suck at talking about us and our team at Levergy. We're kind of we don't always toot our own horn. We just like to nose to the grindstone. We're a team of nerds. That's what I tell people.
Yeah.
And we just like to do damn good work. So we are not for everyone, but if someone wants to check us out, then check us out at levergy.io. We're in all the social places. They can pick up our book on Amazon. We actually wrote a book a few years ago called The Book on Digital Marketing for Plumbing and HVAC. So people can check us out, see how we talk, see how we think. There's even a whole guide on our homepage about why they should not work with us, because not everyone's a good fit for us, and we'd rather identify those people early on. Nothing wrong against those people, but we want good partnerships for everyone, even if that's not us. which is like why I'm happy to be on here to support you guys, because you guys have a stellar reputation. Like, if, obviously, everything you've done in roofing is noteworthy on its own, but now you're starting the transition to HVAC. It's really cool to see what you're doing. So anytime we find people who are good at what they do, who seem like quality humans, it's like, yeah, we want to find ways to, same thing. We want your strengths to rock. We want you to find good partners, even if that's not our strengths and even if it's not our partners. So if everyone helps each other, we're all fine. So yeah, Levergy.io if somebody wants to poke around.
Love it. And I hope to be considered in a similar category of like ethical pushing companies that do great work as you guys are. And I know you guys, and we are on the roofing side, but as we move into HVAC and plumbing and stuff. And thank you for being so generous on this podcast. I think it was useful to folks. And I want to recap. If I can. I'm going to keep on doing my best to recap. 5 things to do before marketing would be: 1, make sure you're marketable. 2, answer the phone. 3, book the call. 4, make sure your customer service is good. 5, make sure each job is profitable. And I'm sure I brutalized that, but I'm trying to give clear, like, you should do these things. Marketing is not a cure-all. And the reason people sometimes, those companies that get a bad reputation for taking advantage of small businesses and stuff like that, a lot of times it's because they're trying to help the really early businesses, the micro businesses that honestly, it's hard to market that business. It's really hard to market that business.
There is a joke. I want to say this came out from the Volkswagen days, like in the 60s and 70s, but the joke was, great marketing makes a bad product fail faster. And that always sits true with me. I have never found an exception to that quote. Like, it's good, it's catchy, it's got a pithiness to it. But yeah, if you have a bad company, great marketing is just going to make things really painful really fast. And so the one thing I would correct on your recap of top 5, don't make your customer service good, because I don't think good in this day and age is sufficient. I think that's considered subpar. It's got to be exceptional. Yeah. You have to position yourself as like a Ruth's Chris, where there's nowhere in town they're going to go and get a better steak. Like, full stop. You can't be an Outback and have a successful, thriving home service business in this culture. So don't be the Outback, be the Ruth's Chris. That's the only change I'd make to your recap. Love it. And I appreciate you being on, sir. What's the .com or the web address one more time? Yeah, Levergy.io. Awesome. Check them out. Check them out on social media. The podcast is put on by hookagency.com. Hook Agency all over social. And I appreciate you guys for watching and listening. Bye. Thanks, Ben.